can AI really help you to write music? So I wanted to put this to the test. I wanted to jump into ChatGPT and see if it really can help me write lo-fi beats, especially if I'm someone who doesn't have a prior knowledge of music theory or production. What's up guys, my name is Sam and I work under the artist name of Kaiyo. I've been releasing music in the lo-fi and chill hop space for around about 2 or 3 years now. I thought this would be a really fun experiment to try, so let's jump into FL Studio and give this a go. So here I've got a completely blank FL Studio project. First thing that I'm going to do is open up ChatGPT and we'll ask it nicely if it can help us write a beat. Now I'm going to aim to write a song in the style of what you'd hear on Lofi Girl. That's a style that most people are familiar with. So just like that, given me a 8-step process for writing a song in the style of Lofi Girl or the Lofi Girl radio. So the first thing that it's given me here is a tempo. So let's jump into FL Studio and set our tempo. I have my default preset set to 60, but it has advised a tempo between 70 and 90. So let's go for, I don't know, 75, something still on the slower side. That's generally where I work, but also the tempo that it's suggesting. The second step that's given me here is to create a simple drum pattern using a soft kick, snare, and hi-hat. Now I don't usually write my songs using drums first, but this is what the AI is telling me to do. So let's find a soft kick, a snare, and a hi-hat. Okay, so it's told me to create a simple drum pattern and it hasn't given me any ideas for what that drum pattern might be. So let's go with the most basic lo-fi drum pattern that you can do, which is a snare on a 1 and a 3. Then let's put in some kicks. And then let's add a really simple hi-hat pattern. Now, one thing to note is that ChatGPT suggested to have a loose laid back feel and not to quantize the drums. Now, my drums are quantized at the moment, but we can easily knock them off grid just by moving them over like that to give the hats a much more loose feel. But I'm going to keep the kick and the snare where they are for now. So we got our kick, our snare, and our hat. So the next thing that it's suggesting we do is add some vinyl crackle or hiss for a vintage feel. Now let me go into my sample packs and I'm sure I will have a vinyl crackle laying around somewhere. There is one. Chuck that onto the mixer. So we've got a little bit of vinyl crackle and we've got a very simple drum groove. So let's move on to the next step. Piano chords. Use a simple piano or Rhodes sound and keep the chords jazzy and minimal. Experiment with 7th chords. So let's ask if it can give us some chord suggestions. Okay, so ChatGPT has given me 6 different chord progressions. Let's try the chill vibe. So we've got an A minor 7, a D9, G major 7, and a C major 7. Now I don't have a Rhodes piano. What I do have is an Imagiro piano 2. So let's create our chords pattern, drop it in here, and we're going for 4 bars. So it's telling us to start with an A minor, A minor 7, and then a D9. There's our G major 7, and then a C major 7. This is just keyed in as basic as you can get. I haven't changed the voicings. I haven't done anything with the chords at all. So let's take a listen to how this sounds with our drums. It's got a kind of jazzy feel, even though that wasn't necessarily what I was going for. So maybe let's try this smooth minor progression and see how we go. So we're going for a B minor 7 with a flat 5, then a E7, A minor 7 and a D minor 7. So let's listen to see if this chord progression is any nicer. Nope, not really feeling that one. Let's stick with the original one. And let's see if we can play with these voicings ever so slightly to give us a bit of a more interesting sounding chord progression. Bump that B up and then let's drop it an octave. Let's maybe play with these velocities slightly. Actually might add a little bit of a strum to my piano chords here, just slightly, to give it that kind of jazzy, classic lo-fi feel. So let's move on to the next step, and the next step it's given is to add a bass line, a smooth and deep bass line, synth bass, or keep the bass line simple and follow the root notes of your chords. So let's create a bass pattern here and follow the root of our chords, which is A, D, G, and C. So let's have a look now and see what the next step is. Melody. Introduce a simple and catchy melody using a mellow instrument like a flute, a vibraphone, or a soft synth lead. Now, I'm not going to do it with the flute because it doesn't really suit my style of track. What I will do is try and build a guitar melody. So let's load up my favorite guitar sound at the moment and try and come up with a really simple guitar melody. Kind of like a jazzy classic lo-fi sound here. Now I don't think this is really what the current sound of lo-fi is, but I'm quite enjoying getting into it, and it's kind of bringing me back to the days of sort of 2019, 2020 when this was really the predominant sound of lo-fi. But they're a nice sort of like jazzy chord progression and a really simple guitar line. So it's said there to introduce a simple and catchy melody using a mellow instrument. So I think we've really captured that. Step 6 in this tutorial is to add some ambient elements like rain sounds, birds, and subtle background pads or textures. So let's add a nice background pad, load up my drone preset. And then it also mentioned using some bird sounds or rain sounds. This beat at the moment, like I said, is really kind of taking me back to that classic nostalgic lo-fi sound. So let's add some absolutely classic rain sounds. I've got here some rain sounds from the Cymatics Life pack. And let's drop that in, put it up on the mixer. So ChatGPT is even talking about mixing here. Keep the mix balanced. Lo-fi beats often have a vintage lo-fi sound, but make sure each element is audible. So that's something I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting it to actually talk about EQing or any sort of processing on the sounds. So I'm going to add a little EQ onto my drone. Just going to cut some of those high resonances. I'm not going to do too much else other than that. I'm just going to do it like that, just for the sake of the video, just to kind of do every element that it's talking about. The final element that ChatGPT is actually talking about is mastering. So it's talking about keeping the mastering subtle and avoid heavy compression or limiting, instead of adding a touch of saturation for warmth. I'm not going to do too much mastering on this, but I will add a little bit of saturation. So let's add a little bit of tape cassette saturation onto the whole master. Now, is this the best beat you've ever heard? No, absolutely not. But I will say that I am pretty impressed. Outlined all 8 of those steps and gave us actionable steps to creating a beat. And if this was the first beat you'd ever made, I'd be pretty happy with this. This is a ton better than any beat I used to make when I was first starting out. Do I think that AI can be used to ultimately write amazing songs and best tracks out there, especially in the lo-fi space? Probably not, but it can be used as a tool to help you and give you ideas, bridge that gap when you're first learning out. So I know that using AI, especially in the music space, is a little bit controversial right now. So let me know in the comments what you think about using AI. Is this a helpful tool, or is this something that we should all be avoiding as much as we possibly can because it's taking away the creative from the artist? Now, I don't think that AI is going to be stealing anyone's job. It's simply just not as creative as a human brain can be. It can be really useful for just generating ideas or giving you something to think about if you're not sure where to start. I don't know if I'll use it in the future, but this was a fun experiment nonetheless. Peace out.